Right, episode 49 of the Back of the Class podcast. My name's Glenn.
I'm Ben.
And before we start off this week's episode, I'd like to say huge thank you to our sponsors, the Bar Griffin Inn, Pitchside Pizza and Grill, Members First Credit Union, Coco's Cakes, VAR Electrical and Orem. And this week we're joined by
Neil Delamere is my name. That was
Thanks
very
a lot for coming in,
impressive.
Neil.
You remembered 5 or 6 different
Yeah.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is hard to remember at times. I think we were actually doing something the other day. It was for our clothing brand. We were doing a giveaway and he was
Mixing up the sponsors'
Braxton,
names.
he was mixing them up
Because
and all.
we have
so many.
We teamed up with a couple of different people for the giveaway for the clothing brand. And now
Whose your own clothing
we
brand?
set up a clothing brand, yeah.
Of course you did. Why didn't you? I love this already.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
I was your age, I know everybody would probably come on this and go, when I was your age, but like we were thinking about, we weren't the entrepreneurial spirit that you boys have. You're already into merch already.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm very impressed by this, lads.
Thank you. We do this thing where we get the previous guest we had on to ask the next guest a question.
Okay.
Not knowing who they are or
Who they
what
are.
they do.
Okay.
And the last guest asked, so this question is for you.
You okay?
What, in your own words, what does rich mean to you?
What does rich mean to me? Ooh, rich means to me choice. That's like you don't need that much stuff, right? So like if you collect watches or something like that, you knock yourself out. But
Yeah.
I mean, you've only 2 arms, so how many watches are you going to wear? But so I wouldn't be massively interested in all that sort of stuff. But what it does do is it gives you time and it gives you choice. So if you won the lotto tomorrow, you could decide how many of these to make. You could maybe expand the video. You could have a different setup. You could choose which guests to go after. You could fly wherever you wanted to. You could say no to other work. So rich is, if you're talking about monetary wealth, what you can buy with it isn't as important as what you can use it to kind of free up your time.
It's an amazing answer.
That's
Yeah.
my answer.
Yeah.
It's deadly.
Do you know what I mean? Because like, and I think I think in the next kind of 20 years that's gonna, that sort of thinking is probably going to increase as well, because we're already getting to a point now where we're looking at the world going, we shouldn't be consuming as much as we are necessarily, and people have admitted that they will pay more money for experiences and forming memories than stuff, because you just end up with shit in your house.
Yeah.
It's
actually-
you just loads
yeah.
of stuff you don't need.
There's a book actually written on that. I think it's called Die With Zero. I'm
Yeah.
actually going to read it soon, and it's all about that, like, dying with, like, not... See the way a lot of people think about money, they're like, oh, I want to pass so-and-so amount onto my
No,
kids.
die with it.
But people don't realise, like, that actually killing their own life experiences, thinking that they're
Yeah.
going to die and they have to leave
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much money behind them.
absolutely. Now, one of the easy ways to do that is to live with zero as well.
Yeah.
For the first few years of my career, certainly
Yeah.
I would have died with zero had it ended early.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great idea. There's no pockets in a shroud, as they used to say. So yeah, spend
Yeah.
it all. And then make your kids go out and do make them build their own lives, I
Yeah.
suppose.
And there's a bottle of water there for you. I forgot to say that to you
All
before
right.
the old camera
Is that
came on.
sponsored by somebody? You gotta tell me, we dug our own well. We're very entrepreneurial here. We have a digger company, we have a boring company, and this is our water. It's Ben and Glenn's H2O or something.
And this is our own mics as well. We
Yeah,
have a mic
of course
company.
it is. Of course it is. Yeah, I'll come back on this podcast next year and go, what does rich mean to you two? And you'll be sitting here in chinchilla coats, like full-on rappers who like a hip-hop artist. I won't be able to call you Ben and Glenn and have to call you something else. Your new names. What would your hip-hop name be, actually?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think anybody ever asked me
I
that.
actually only heard you on the Talking Bollocks because I think Terence and Calvin opened themselves up as Terry Flower and COB.
Oh,
And
right.
we don't really have a opening. We're actually still just saying Glenn and Ben and Glenn, but
Terence Flower is one, but COB's is just like close of business. That's
Yeah.
just like, get that to me by the 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think he needs to work on COB
Yeah.
needs to work on.
What would
Calvin
your
needs to work
hip
on
hop
his.
name be?
Oh no, I'm far too Midlands and pale to have a hip hop name. I think.
I don't know.
I don't know.
DJ Freckle Briquette.
That's good. That's good.
That's what it would be. Bored and Mona in the house. I don't know, something silly like that.
Sure, Eminem is after proving that you don't really
Oh my
have
God,
to,
that
isn't he?
dude.
Yeah.
And Macklemore as well.
Yeah,
We
he was
Macklemore as well,
unbelievable. I said, did you watch Happy Gilmore too? Eminem
Yeah.
was in
Not
it.
yet, actually.
I
no.
watched that,
We still
yeah.
have to
Very good.
watch it.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how everyone at the top knows each other, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose that's so iconic though. If he comes and asks you, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bad Bunny is a big one as well. A lot of people like don't see him as that big, but he kind of broke hip hop in a sense of. I think he's from Argentina. I could be wrong.
He's
Yeah.
from Colombia. I think.
Colombia, is it?
Yeah.
Like he is huge over there. Like so, to get him on Happy Gilmore is actually a big move. To be fair.
Yeah, yeah. You just say Colombia, I think Shakira. So that's
Yeah.
That's,
I think of Pablo Escobar.
somebody's watching Narcos anyway.
I have, yeah. I do this thing every once in a while where I like delve into people and like understand why they did what they did and
Right.
how their life went and how they sort of had a downfall and an uprise and all. And Pablo Escobar was only a few weeks ago. I was really delving into him, and
And would you read a biography of
I'd-
him
I'd read-
and read and look at
I
documentaries and stuff?
watched Narcos, and that's what sparked it for me. And then I
Right.
started sort of looking them up online and watching YouTube videos and
Right.
all things like
So
that.
when you have your cocaine empire, you're going to not make the
Exactly.
same mistakes as he did.
That's it,
Is
yeah.
that what it is?
I won't be burying 300 million in a farm, and anyway.
Biographies are actually very good. I'm thinking of buying the one about Albert Einstein.
Right.
Or there's one about Steve Jobs where they actually like dive properly into him and how he
I think I have
lived
that
his
one.
life. Do you? Yeah.
I'll bring it in next time.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
read
it's
much?
sitting on my shelves. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't read that much. Sort of. I kind of read to just turn my brain off, you know. So I read kind of crime fiction and detective and cops and robbers and that sort of stuff. Don't read that many. Don't read that many kind of non-fiction things. But
I
every so
always-
often I do.
I always find myself watching. Do you ever ID Investigation? It's on the TV. Me and my ma always watch that
What's it
together.
called?
ID Investigation is the name
Okay.
of the channel, and like
Right.
once you start watching that, you can't stop.
Is
Like,
it
I'm
real? Like, is it true crime stuff?
It's true crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I haven't watched that.
Bad
But I
anyway.
that's one of those things that I never sit down to watch. But if I'm walking by and it's on, they're so well made.
Yeah,
The 5
sucked
minutes
into
in,
it.
you're like, oh god, this is class.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you grew up. Tell us about school. Tell us about what school was like for you.
I went to St Mary's Secondary School in Edenderry. You're talking about secondary school, really. And
Grew up in
really liked
Edenderry,
it in Edenderry in County Offaly. So it's only about 40 miles from here.
Yeah.
Um,
I got me dog in Offaly.
You got your dog in Offaly?
I did, yeah.
Things we are known for: Clonmacnoise and the procurement of dogs.
That's it. And my man and dad got married in Offaly.
Did they?
They did, yeah.
Where?
The Bridge House.
The Bridge House Hotel in Tullamore?
Yeah.
Wow, many a night I've spent in there now. What year was it they got married? I was probably at it. I probably wandered in afterwards.
Yeah.
I no, I really liked school. My family's kind of academic, so we all kind of learn and that. You know, I think when I was in school, no more than now, some people are comfortable in that environment, and some people are not comfortable in that environment. And when they leave, they find the thing they really want, and they might blossom at university because they learn in a different way or whatever, or an apprenticeship, whatever. But we were kind of academic and very straight down the middle. So liked school and was pretty good at school, you know.
Did you know what you wanted to be growing up, or did you have
No,
No.
I had no idea. And people are sometimes surprised. Like, we had a musical in our school when we were 15 or 16, and I didn't do it because I was like, no, I didn't. I would be a bit too nervous to do that.
Mm.
And
Really,
then,
yeah?
And then,
And then fast forward a few
fast
years
forward,
later.
you're doing Live at the Apollo or something in front of 3,000 people. But that shows you the difference between some people at 15 or 16 and some people at 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly if you move away. If you move away from where you grew up to somewhere else, sometimes you're away from your mum and dad and you're living on your own.
Mm.
What people kind of did then, they don't do it as much anymore because obviously the housing crisis is kind of crazy. But yeah, I liked school. It was good school. Overcrowded for when it was built, the number of students it was intended, just because it was a population boom. But good teachers, nice people, and it got me to DCU. I went to DCU. I had no idea what I wanted to do. No.
What did you study in DCU?
I studied computer applications because my brother had done it. It was the only reason I did it. And I knew it was a stopgap. I knew I could do that and then figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And at that time, computers was like, you knew you were going to get, no more than now really, you knew you were going to get a job. It was, it was an in demand skill sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But like I had enough. I could have had enough points to do whatever I wanted. I could have done law or medicine and all the rest. And my sister's friend was an ER doc in America, in Manhattan, and she's like, you know, I'll talk you through it, but you gotta really love it because it's, you know, stressful.
Yeah, it would be.
And my mother said that law, you have to know somebody. I don't know what that means.
You
But-
get to know somebody over the 9 years you study
yeah,
as well.
yeah, a million years. So that's all I did, yeah. And I didn't intend to do. I certainly didn't intend to do this.
How did you get into comedy then? What sparked it?
I was in DCU, and a friend of mine who I was with only a couple of nights ago, and he was the best man at my wedding. We were good mates in college, and we said, let's write down a list of things that we want to do before we're 30, I think we said. And it was like parachute jumping, bungee jumping, going to London or whatever, doing a 5-minute stand-up set. So it's just a list of
Just things you wanted to do.
No intention of doing any more than that, yeah.
And you must have grown in confidence from the
Well,
15-year-old that wouldn't get on
the
stage.
first gig I ever saw. So now if you two like stand up,
Yeah.
you go online, you look at YouTube, and you look at even the comedy channels on all the time, and there's so much for you to kind of take in.
Okay. Yeah.
And you're 2 minutes from this place, which is a comedy venue, so you can see whoever you want. So when I was in school, I hadn't seen any stand up. So when I went to college, I saw my stand up first, and the first gig I ever saw, it was oversold, and it was in DCU in the bar, and I was sitting. You used to have to sit on the floor because all the seats were taken, and it was Dara O'Brien, and Eddie Bannon and Deirdre O'Kane, all in the one gig, probably 2000, something like that. Yeah, 25 years ago.
Smart.
And then 2000, yeah, that was 2000. And 4 years later, I was on television with Dara O'Brien.
That's amazing.
Which was
isn't it?
that was insane. That was kind of
Yeah.
insane.
Did you complete your 30 list?
I did, yeah. That's
You
a
went
good question.
skydiving?
Yeah, I went skydiving.
What was that like?
Skydiving, national skydiving places in about 5 miles where I lived.
Is
National
it?
Parachute Club in Edenderry and Offaly, yeah.
I want to have some confidence going into that.
When
Yeah.
we were, what?
You want to have some confidence going
Well,
into
if we did tandem, a friend of mine, so we did tandem when I was about 17 or 18. I passed my driving test and I did my first parachute jump in the one weekend.
that? Jesus.
And the driving test was considerably more dangerous than the parachute jump as well. My friend did it, and what you do is, it's a static line jump, so you're on your own, okay, and you jump out, and you're still attached to a strong point in the plane, so your parachute is pulled for you, so you don't have to
Right,
pull
right.
the parachute.
Yeah.
So and then you have a radio, one-way radio, so you can hear them, but you can't talk to them. And this is what it used to be like. And they say left toggle or right toggle, and they land you. You know, they'd give you advice about how to
So you
land
don't have
yourself.
that person strapped
No,
onto your chest.
that's a tandem,
That's only
right?
a new thing. Yeah.
So we did that, and when she jumped out, she got 2 FM in her. She didn't get the guy going left, right, toggle. She got welcome. We'll talk to the next caller, or in at number
Yeah.
10. It's Macklemore with whatever. So she ended off in a field, like
Jesus.
half a mile away. But it was great though. Yeah. So I did that, and I did bungee jumping and all that stuff. I wouldn't do it now. I'm a bit of a wuss now, you know.
How did your first set go when you done your 5 minutes of stand-up comedy?
All I remember was I learned it backwards and forwards. So like an earthquake would have hit that room, and I would have finished that. Because I'd learned it. I wasn't winging that at all.
Where
And I
did you get the script from?
Well, you just wrote jokes, wrote whatever you thought was funny, and it's designed. Have either of you ever tried it?
No.
Stand up. No.
Would you ever like to try it?
I'd give it
I
a shot.
wouldn't
Not yet.
turn the experience down. Yeah.
It's not. It's okay. So, but it's not a burning sort of need or anything, is it?
No, it's not born
Okay.
in it.
You never know.
You never know. Yeah, you're not ruling anything out. It's one of those. If you go on and you used to go on in the international bar, and you would do 5 minutes, and you would do 5 minutes between other people who were very experienced. So the host would go, next up is a young man, Ben or Glenn, and they're coming along, and this is their first time. And the audience is very nice to you because they know it's your first time, and they also know you'll be finished in 4 or 5 minutes. So if you're terrible, you're not going to have to sit through you for the first 5 minutes, you know. So you're just going to build it up really slowly. And yeah.
Did you have nerves going onto that stage?
Absolutely breaking it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And was it people you knew in the crowd?
I had one guy I worked with, I had a job in computers at the time. I had one guy I worked with because I didn't like if it went badly. I didn't want to ever talk about it again. And, yeah,
And
I really enjoyed it. It must have gone well, and it just kept going.
How did it transpire from there then? What
Well, I have a theory about this that I've talked about. Everybody dies in their first few gigs. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you do 15 or 20 gigs, you'll die horribly 2 or 3 times, right? You just will.
Yeah.
And I always think that if your first 3 times are those deaths, and you go, I'm never doing this again, I'm terrible at this, we might have lost loads of people. Whereas if you flukily did 10 great gigs and then your next 3 were awful, if your first 10 were good, you go, oh no, I actually can do this. Maybe something went wrong on that night, you know?
Yeah.
So you just go and get as much stage time as possible, and you're on with strange people in strange open spots, you know, like you might be doing 5 minutes and somebody else will be going on juggling doing 5 minutes, and somebody else might be going on singing a folk song, and somebody else might do beat poetry or about their drug addiction or something, you know, and you're going, and these are the things I noticed on the way to work today, you know. So you learn, there's no substitute for just being on stage and learning, really.
Yeah, the confidence comes in the work, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then after a while, like if you've written a joke, for example, and it works all the time, and you do a gig and it hasn't worked, you might then have enough knowledge to go, actually, the Champions League was on over our shoulder, and or the mic was rubbish, or the lights weren't on, or whatever. You might get a perspective about why something worked or why something didn't work. You know.
Do you think the crowd is very important in stand-up comedy?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And the longer you go on, the easier it is, because at some point they go to see you.
Yeah.
And they're already invested, so you're not starting from zero. Someone's paid 25 quid to see the Ben and Glenn show, or the Glenn and Ben show, whichever way you want to say it, depending. And you should probably rotate it every year, so one of you has to start building. That if they know who you are, you've started above zero. You've started at 3 out of 10. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas when you walk on in a club, they're like, "Convince me," you know.
So do you think social media has a big presence in comedy nowadays?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Which is a good thing in lots of ways. It means that. So at one point, say you boys do a double act, right? And 15 years ago, and you go, we want to tour the country. One of the ways to do it was to go into RTE or to BBC or whatever and go, these are the stuff we want to make sketches. And they go, well, show us the sketches. And you go, well, we make them on video or whatever. Like, so there's no social media. You can't show them what you've made. Yeah. And then they decide and go, well, we're not really sure. Whereas now you don't need to do any of that. You just go on YouTube, make your own stuff. Yeah. So you can find your audience, like this podcast. So like,
yeah, you're not reliant on like other platforms like.
If you've gone to a radio show,
we did at the start. We actually had.
And they said what?
We got offered by a radio show to do this podcast. That's one of the reasons we started.
But it is a podcast though. It's not a radio show. If you'd gone as a radio show a few years ago and said, give us a radio show, they'd go no. Whereas now you can do this.
Yeah.
You know, and you can, and then now that it's successful, you can build it somewhere else. So it means people can go direct to their audience, which is brilliant. The only downside to it sometimes with stand-up is that someone can be brilliant at, say, sketches, and then they go and do stand-up, and they just haven't done stand-up enough. They're really famous online, but they haven't done enough stand-up, so sometimes it takes them a while for their experience on stage to catch up with how famous they are, you know?
Yeah. That's why something we even say with this podcast, it's all about, it's like a bamboo tree. You need to, like a bamboo grows down for 5 years or something, and then it springs up in the last year and goes to like 6 feet tall or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, that's something I think when you're starting off, you need to get your roots in, get your audience, learn.
Do you listen back to this?
Sometimes.
Have you listened to any of the first ones? Yeah. And how are you compared to now?
We've grown.
Right.
We've
definitely grown. Yeah.
Are you 3 or 4 feet into the ground?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have like
I always tell him the story when we had Robbie G from Belters on. I could actually hear myself shaking in that episode. Like I was that nervous, and I was like, and since then we've grown like a lot.
In that episode, we didn't have visuals. We didn't have our own gear. We didn't have any sponsors.
Right.
We didn't have
just kind of winging it. One
poster. We were just winging it, coming in and giving us socks. But now we have a little bit of we have our own gear. We have cameras now. They will improve, but for now they're good.
And do you have anything where if it goes wrong, this is what you reach for?
a backup plan, like.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna make this work.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if
That's
someone's
our plan,
awkward?
What if
What's
what?
it?
If
What?
someone's awkward,
Yeah.
we've had a few awkward guests and we sort of
Yeah,
know
we
how to
kinda
work
know how
around
to,
them.
yeah.
Okay.
We
know
just
what
we
the
have
right
questions in our head, so we just throw the questions at them. Even if it's only one word answers, we still have more questions.
Right.
to
Okay.
come at
Yeah.
them.
But you have a few questions in your head before they come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially we do this thing called class questions,
Right.
and it's like we used to ask the same sort of questions religiously, but now we switch it up. So from the class questions, them questions all stick in my head.
Right. Okay.
So if
you
I'm,
always
if I'm
have a few.
yeah,
Yeah,
if I'm struggling, I have something in the bank. Then do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And as well, who we get on, we're always like interested in finding out as much as we can about that person.
Okay,
So we
okay.
kind of always have the same questions in our head, like.
Yeah. 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 And you follow what they say.
Yeah.
So you have a loose plan of maybe some ground you want to cover, but I always think that's a weird thing sometimes you hear on people being interviewed, and you can hear that the guest or that the interviewer has 10 questions and they're going to ask question 7 after they ask question 6, and for question 6 you could say to them, when was the most scared you were in your life? And they go, that time I murdered a man with a wheelbarrow. And then they go, for question 7 they go, and have you been anywhere nice in your holidays? And they just completely ignore the previous question, you know.
That's
whereas
what we
you
found.
have gone,
We actually-
we're going to go with the
Yeah.
flow of it.
We actually done that at the start. We wrote down questions and we had a notebook in front of us, and we found when we wrote them questions down and asked them, it was awkward because we weren't actually taking in what the guest was saying. We were
Yeah.
just thinking, right, we have to ask this next, and we have to keep looking at the page and memorize that question, and we're not actually taking in or
Sure,
following
we
the
had
conversation.
Jim Sheridan on in one of he was our 3rd episode.
Really?
Yeah.
And we were, obviously you asked Jim a question and Jim
Yeah,
said like
that's what it was. I asked him, did he enjoy school?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. I asked him,
it was something
I
along
asked
them
him
lines,
like, what was school like for you? And he said to me, well, a priest hung me out the window by my legs.
Right.
And I did not take that in at all because I'm looking at the questions. And I said to him,
Yeah.
so did you enjoy school? Like, did you like it? And he's like, well, not really. And and then everybody said it to me when I posted. They were like, what? He started telling me he was hung out the window by his
Yeah,
legs,
yeah.
and I asked him, did you enjoy school?
Yeah, but you learn, like,
Yeah.
you never know. Maybe he is, compression of his spine, and it was one of the few ways that
Yeah.
There you go.
if he
Yeah.
was hung out the window, that'd be the thing that
Yeah.
he said, like, that's exactly what I wanted, Father. Thanks a million for
Maybe
that.
he was an adrenaline seeker.
Yeah, you don't know.
There you go,
In the 60s and 70s, before they had bungee jumps in Ireland, all you could do is
Yeah.
you got a priest to hold you out a window by your ankles, and that was the thing.
There was
and
a
you had
nun
to
at
go,
the end of a
"Way!"
trampoline.
Yeah, nuns with blankets were underneath, told them blankets. They all work together, the clergy, to make people have the best time.
They were like firemen back in the day.
Yeah, but see, there you go. Like,
Yeah.
but you learn something from that.
Exactly.
But listen, people more experienced than you still do that. You can hear
Yeah.
them do it. You know.
So we were doing it off our lap for the question, so we were looking down, and one key I found out is we should have having like a whiteboard and had the questions actually written in front of us, so we didn't have to look down.
Yeah.
So we're not, because we actually weren't focused on him at all. We were so focused on just
And we are so nervous as well. Like, obviously, he's a huge director, one of the biggest in Ireland. And then I was looking him up. He directed Get Rich or Die Trying with 50 Cent and all. And
Yeah.
literally only set the podcast up. We are still recording.
On my left foot. And
We were recording off our phone, planted to a table, one of them little sticks, the Lucky Luckies in Spain sell you. And we literally sitting in a classroom, no script, nothing.
no, that
And
was
then-
in George's studio.
Yeah, but before that, we didn't have a
Oh,
studio.
yeah,
and
yeah.
then Glenn's friend, because Jim was so big, Glenn's friend had a studio and he said, you can use mine. I'll take pictures, I'll sort out with the gear and all. And we're like, right, cool. So it was our first time even using gear and all. So we're like,
I think that if you're listening to something like this or a radio show or anything, I think almost the biggest crime you can do is not asking the question that someone at home
yeah.
is thinking to ask. So if someone goes, and that, so someone comes on and goes, and that woman there was the second best lover I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like, your job at home going, ask him who's the best. God, ask him who's the best. Like, if you don't ask the question that everybody at home is screaming,
Yeah.
that's the only sin, I think. But like,
Yeah.
there's no right way to
even
do
you
this,
with
wrong
your
way to do
list
this.
before your 30s, I'm sure people at home are wondering, did you complete it? And now they
Yeah,
know.
well, you asked. Though,
There
didn't
you go,
You
yeah.
asked. I can't remember, or what else was on it. I can't remember what else was on it. I did some weird. Sometimes you do weird stuff in July. I tend to do weird stuff because the Edinburgh Fringe Festival used to be in August, and you were like, I need 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
need 5 more minutes. I'll go and do something odd. And weirdly enough, no matter when you ever went to do something odd, deliberately to try and get stuff out of it, you never got stuff out of it. Whereas actually living your life, you're driving around the corner and
You find something funny.
yeah. For the last tour, I was driving around and it was near Mount Joy, there in Phibsborough, and I drove around the corner. So you could be going searching for stuff, going, I'll do this extreme experience, something would be funny, and nothing would be funny. And then I was driving around near Mount Joy, and a guy was being arrested because he had flown his drone into a tree, and underneath the tree was the pouch of drugs bound for the prison. And there was a guard kicking a football at it to try and knock it down out of the tree. And I just watched this for like 25 minutes.
That's great.
My wife was texting me going, where are you with the shopping? I was like, I am writing the final end of the show because this is absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
So it falls into your lap. The longer you do it, the more experienced you are. I think in anything, like you guys or on radio, like a friend of mine, I do a podcast with a friend of mine, Dave Moore, who is on Today FM, and he's brilliant at seeing something and going, I'll mention that on the radio tomorrow, and we'll get loads of texts in about it. So like same as, and stand-ups are like, oh, I'll get loads of stuff out of X, Y, and Z.
And how do you transpire that into an actual story? Because a lot of people would see very funny stuff, but then when they tell it, the story lets the actual event down.
The story lets the event down is a lovely way of saying that. You just get experience about how to tell it and where the funny is, and you learn to examine it from every angle. So if you tell me that story, you could consider the man who owns the house. You consider what the guard is thinking. You consider what the other guy is thinking. You could describe the scenario. Me and my dog were watching it. A crowd had gathered. A young lad gave him a football. The guard kicked the football up. It got stuck in the tree. He had to borrow another ball from another young lad, but I'm not going to give you the ball. So you have to start looking at every single angle of it, you know. And then you go and this is the weird thing about stand-up is that, like, if you're a playwright, you write a play, or you're a sculptor, you do the sculpture, right?
Yeah.
And you go to the people. This is it. That's my thing. It's done. Whereas a stand-up goes and writes the story, and then goes to an audience and goes, "Here's the story as it is now.
Yeah.
Tell me which bits are funny."
Yeah.
And the audience will laugh at certain bits, and then you go away and you go, they didn't really like that bit. And you, with their help,
change it up and morph it into what you want it to be.
And mould it,
Yeah.
And what was your first year of stand-up comedy like, and how did you see yourself grow?
So I was still working.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to get on. We were really envious of the London lads. After about a couple of years, you talk to some of the London lads. You go over after maybe 2 years, and you'd realise you had gigged every week, and you had done so over 2 years. That'd be 80 or 100 gigs maybe. And you talk to a London guy, and he would have done 100 gigs in 3 months. Like,
yeah.
There was just so much opportunity for them and so much stage time. So you'd be kind of envious of them. But sometimes maybe Irish audiences are a bit more willing to go on the journey with you. It's less aggressive, and I think maybe you develop in a different way if you kind of had developed here. You know, you could find your feet after. You would be allowed to find your feet. But I just did gigs every week as much as I could. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and you build up your confidence, build up your stage time, build up your material, so that and build up a skill. It takes a bit longer than a year, but you build up a skill where you can talk and look at the reaction at the same time. So say you do a gig and you're like, okay, they didn't like that. I was a bit too political or a bit too esoteric or a bit too clever or whatever. Then you happen to do another line that's maybe dark and they like that. And you go, in your head you go, oh, okay, they like dark.
Yeah.
And after a couple of years, if you've enough stuff, you go and dump in your head all the political esoteric stuff, and you go, okay, I'm doing all the dark stuff now.
Yeah.
So you get that skill after a while. But I did all that, and then after a year, I won a competition, and the competition, there was prize money of a couple of grand, and you could buy a computer out of that, or you could buy gear out of that, and you could spend the prize money on rent or whatever if you wanted. And I went, I'll give up my job now, and I'll blow through this. And when I blow through this after 6 months, I'll go back to the job. And I never did.
So you had a plan in your head.
But I had a plan for 6 months.
Yeah.
I'll give this a go and see if I can make a living. That was it. Just make a living.
Did you believe in yourself?
I didn't think too hard about it.
You just went with it?
Yeah, I didn't think too hard. I had some savings from my job because I had a job. computer engineer, and then I had I think it was $2,000 or something like that, and I think you had to buy some gear like a laptop or stage gear or cameras or something like this, and then so you would have had maybe £1,500 left, and that would cover your rent then for a few months, and then I just went that. So that's it. Once that's finished, that's my little buffer. Once I blow through that, I'll go back, and that's as far as I thought.
Did you have people telling you, no, Neil, don't leave the job, that's a good job, don't go and chase this crazy dream, or don't leave your job? Or...
My parents didn't really know what it was, but I had my degree, so I had my little fallback.
Yeah.
And it's like going to Australia for a year. Like, should people go off for a year and do something? And I was just going to do this for a year.
Yeah.
So they didn't think any more than that.
Yeah.
But like, I remember, so the panel was one of the big breaks that we had. There was a TV show, panel show, like a Nevermind the Buzzcocks, or what do you call the one in Mock the Week? That was on, and that started in 2003. A friend of mine said to me, would you ever get on that? And I was like, yeah, I'll never get on that. And then I was on it the next year. Just, they were looking for someone, and I had done bits and pieces, and I was very lucky that was there at the time, you know. So to answer your question, you were asking me the question, did I believe myself? To a certain extent, but you don't allow yourself to. I think that's maybe an Irish thing. I don't know, or maybe it's a generational thing. You don't think too far ahead. You just go, I'll do this and do this and do this. I think that might be different for lads your age, because the world. So now, if you have. So when I was 17 or 18, or not, maybe when I started in stand up, success would be do Vicar Street. Whereas success for you lads, because you live in a global world, might be a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's very hard for young people now. Like, they'd say they have a dream of, I don't know, being a musician.
Yeah.
And they say, Roy, I'm going to start being a musician. They'll say, Roy, where do I start? They'll go on to TikTok or something, search up musician. They'll scroll through TikTok for hours and look at these musicians playing in the biggest places in America, England, New Zealand, Australia, and they'll be like, oh my God, where am I going to start? What am I going to do? How do I even write a song? And then they're like looking at all the best people possible, because that's what's going to come up on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's not going to show you their failures, and they're like, how is this person not failing? All I'm doing is failing. And I think people look too much into the future. Like, there's this thing, I think it.
But you can't control any of that.
I think it's on a series. It's on a series or something, and it's like there's a horse in the woods, and the horse is panicking because it's trapped in the woods, and an owl flies in and says, "What are you doing?" And he says, I don't know where to go. I'm stuck. And the owl says to him, "Well, where are you trying to go?" And he said, "Out of the woods." And he said, "Well, can you see your next step?" And the horse says, "Well, yeah." And he said, "Well, just take that and go from there." And
good advice from the owl.
It is, isn't it? And that stuck with me for life.
Why do you like Ed Sheeran?
He's always like, all throughout his career, he's shown like the younger generation, like, it's not all wins. There's a lot of failures, and he actually has his own YouTube channel where he not all his gigs now, but he'd show a lot of his gigs where he's like warming up his early ones.
Okay. Yeah.
And
she was on
it was a guy called Jamal Edwards who set up SBTV, which was like a music channel sort of thing. Like, Jamal's another inspiration. He set that up from a £200 camcorder, and he was only 15. He kind of created Ed, but Ed also went along with Jamal and showed all his progress. So I think that's why he's a big inspiration to a lot of younger musicians out there.
He was on Jimmy Fallon or something like that, and he was asking him, like, how were you just born with talent, or what's the story?
Graham Norton, that was on.
Graham Norton, yeah. And Ed said, no, it wasn't. And he said, but like, you're so good. And Ed goes, listen to this. He went on his phone, scrolled. This is the first time I was singing. And he played it, and his voice was cracking. He was out lyric. He wasn't rhyming. Everything. And Ed said, look, it's just hard work and practice, and that's how you get to the top.
Go.
But now, obviously, like, I think social media, like what we were saying, it's making it more. People are actually preferring to show the journey now, because people like to see the journey and they get inspired by it. So I know, like, Alex Warren, he's showing his whole journey at the minute as well, like, and it's incredible what he's doing.
What's he doing?
He's a singer. I don't know if you've ever heard that song, Ordinary.
That song, Ordinary.
Oh, yeah.
That's him. He blew up off that song, and now he's showing his journey of...
I mean, it's double-edged, I suppose, because what happens is if people are honest, then you can see that there's failures. But the other side of it is that comparison is the thief of joy, and you have the whole world to compare yourself with on social media. If you choose to do that. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to be careful with how much you're exposed to that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know, and you invariably will see more stuff of people who are massively successful than.
Yeah, because everybody has a different process, I think.
Rob Lipset, actually, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah,
Rob Lipset
Know
was
of
on
him,
this
yeah.
podcast, and he said to us, social media is a
Just
Just-
water.
Yeah.
social media is a dark place. He said, I don't go on it. He said, I said, what advice would you give to the younger generation? And he said, be a creator, not a consumer. So anytime Rob goes on social media, he's going on it to post, or he's going on it to network, or he's going on it to do something beneficial.
So he doesn't.
He doesn't go on to doom scroll or take in unnecessary content, or
He's very
Anything
disciplined
like
then
that.
if he does that.
he is, yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
And that stuck with me as well.
So lots of things stick with you.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
All the good stuff sticks.
Listen to your interviewees. It's to talk about school and being hung out by their ankles.
That's it.
And,
yeah.
and
Well, that didn't stick with me.
owls and horses
Yeah.
and
That only stuck with us at the end.
That
a
only,
creator,
stuck,
not a
that only
consumer.
stuck with me because everybody was slating me, saying, what are you doing last Sunday? Like school, he was hung out a window.
yeah, but one, you learn from it, and two, now you have something else to say to other people on other podcasts.
There
It's
you
Yeah,
all-
go.
exactly.
yeah.
Like
It's
what
all
you
grist.
said, it's another
Something
story
me,
to tell.
Something me driving the truck that said also stuck with me. He said,
When I tap the dashboard, please come to the emergency stop.
he said to me, now go out and get something we can't teach you, experience.
Right.
That's for driving, life, podcasts,
Yeah.
music,
Yeah.
everything.
That is a fact, yeah.
What are all the things you've learned? He's given us all his
Oh.
life lessons now.
A lot of things.
I'll be here all day.
Yeah, I'll be here all day, yeah.
Okay.
Just loads of things. I actually watched you on, Countdown
I do.
about 2 months ago. It's funny I'm saying it now because I'm sitting on the podcast, but I was actually saying to my dad, I was like, Neil Delamere, I was like, I'm going to get him on the podcast.
Right.
Only 2 months ago we were watching it and it came to reality. So that's
It's one of
something I'm
those
starting
weird
to realise
ones that-
now is self-belief. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you don't ask, you don't get.
yeah.
That's it.
And
exactly, yeah.
it's a small country as well, and people are.
Yeah.
I think because it's a small country, people are more willing to kind of be a bit friendlier, just because our ties are a bit closer. You know,
Mm,
you might know someone I might know. We might be related. You know, that's
Yeah.
always a thing here.
yeah.
But that's a weird. Like I got that because a friend of mine became the host of that. Really, that who I know for years from doing his radio show, and him doing me a favor, me doing him favors and stuff. You know, but it's all about. There is the thing that I've learned. I'll tell you what I've learned in the last. One of my theories is that there's probably 30 people who control everything. And I don't mean the same 30 people, but like if you want to make a film for Hollywood, there's probably 30 people that you could go to. Maybe there's probably the heads of Netflix, the heads of Amazon, the heads of the various studios. You want to do. Make an album for wherever. There's probably 30 people. You want to do 1,000-seat gig in Dublin. It's probably what I mean. They're just groups of people. It's
Yeah.
just about how you
Get yourself
get
into
to
that group.
and chat to them.
I was only thinking of that the other day, because obviously we see it a lot more through the podcast, and it's like, I only realised that like people have their own kind of little cliques,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
especially like
And they're
content
they're just
creators.
people, though.
Yeah,
That's the thing. They're just people.
yeah, exactly.
You know.
Don't put anybody.
And what's
on
the
a
worst they can
pedestal.
do? Say no. They can say no to you. Grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you faced any major setbacks or knockbacks back in your day when you were starting up that sort of disheartened you? Or did you ever think to yourself, oh, I don't know if this is for me? Or
Oh, there's you definitely in the early days consider whether it's an option. Yeah, definitely. And usually that's connected with how much you're traveling. So usually it's like you're over and you're in your mid-20s or early 20s and you're in England and you're staying in a hostel or whatever to do a gig or so someone sees you and maybe the gig is for free and so they book you for a paid gig the next time or whatever and it's tough or it doesn't go well and you're away from home and you're away from your family and all the rest. There's definitely points where you go, geez, this is, I don't know, should I just have a normal job? There's definitely, I think most comedians will tell you that that's true. I think most musicians will say that's to you.
and how did you overcome that? How did you say no?
I remember saying to my friend, I said, I don't know, what do you think? And he said to me, it was like I had a terminal disease. He went, oh no, you're too far gone. And he just meant, you've no other skills, you're unemployable.
Yeah.
So even after 4 or 5 years of not doing your computer job, you were kind of, you'd have to go back and learn it again. I think now it's really positive because, like, I know a guy in England who was brilliant, who's always been brilliant, and who was never toured, who only did club sets, and then recently because of social media he can now tour because he's brilliant and he can get his stuff to the people. So now I think if you are downhearted, I think about your career or whatever, it's almost you've always more. There are more examples of people making it through different avenues than there ever have been before. Just keep on going.
Stay consistent.
Yeah, you also, the longer you do anything, the more kind of perspective you get, and the more you realise what matters, and the more you realise whose opinion matters. Because so on your podcast, everybody will have an opinion on your podcast, but like, whose opinion matters to you, lads, and also whose opinion actually affects anything. So, for example, you could do a radio show tomorrow. So radio is something I used to do, and a newspaper could say, "Don't like that radio show." Do you think that a newspaper review of a radio show affects how many people listen to that radio show? I don't think it does anymore.
No.
Whereas if you were in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where there's thousands of shows, and the audience is wondering what show to go to, then a newspaper review of a big newspaper, if a newspaper review goes, Glenn and Ben's show, Ben and Glenn's show, I've decided I'm going to call you Post, by the way. This is 5 stars. It's absolutely amazing. It matters there because people need to be guided by something.
Yeah.
So the longer you go on, the more you go, well, that has no effect, and that does have an effect there. You know?
I think even if a newspaper posted on it on their Instagram these days, you'd be down.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah.
Have you ever had a heckler that sort of stuck with you and you had a little giggle and said, fair play to him?
It depends on whether you. So sometimes heckling is disruptive. Very rarely in Ireland is it disruptive. Sometimes it's you've asked someone a question. So I wouldn't consider it a heckle because I've asked you the question.
Yeah.
So they can be very good, yeah. I had a paramedic once and I said, have you ever pulled anything out of anybody's bottom? And he went, oh, not at work. And everybody, I was like, that's an amazing.
In the moment, yeah.
And then his wife sitting beside him going, and then I couldn't do the rest of the gig without looking at the two of them. And it was a bit, and she went to go to the loo and she had a very slight limp, and because she must have hurt the leg, but it just looked really odd. I had this guy recently, I had a brilliant guy down in Limerick, and I said, what do you do? And he goes, I'm in the army. I said, what part of the army? And he says, I'm in the cavalry. And I said, do you ride horses? And he said, no. We have tanks now. And I said, well, how did you get the horse into the tank? And he said, a massive carrot. And I just gave him a high five because it was a brilliant answer. And I've, like, that's kind of collaborative. You've engaged him and you're looking for a response from him,
Yeah.
So the thing that people talk about crowd work and they say, so some people go on and it's really aggressive and it's like, oh, your t-shirt's rubbish and your haircut's rubbish. Like, I've no interest in that. I've more of an interest in being collegiate and being collaborative. And if I ask you your name and you look away and your body language shuts down, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, So you get brilliant answers
in the moment.
Do you think
as well?
Do you think the Irish crowds are just full of wit as well and full of answers?
I think that I do, but I also think that they can be playful. You know what I mean? They're just like there's an esoteric sort of we're kind of willing to go with something a bit odd. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you tell them a story that's kind of weirdly descriptive and full of odd characters saying odd things, they kind of like that sort of stuff. Because I think sometimes maybe British audiences like wordplay and like jokes, whereas Irish audiences sometimes like these bizarre tales of you ending up chatting to a mermaid on a beach in Kerry. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the differences between the two places.
Yeah.
Did you ever have like, what was your first sort of like, I've made it moment, or like a
Full circle moment.
full circle moment?
I was on the panel. I was 24. I was sitting beside Dara Breen, who on the other people who were on the panel were Dara Breen, Ed Byrne, Colin Murphy, who had 40 years experience between them, and I had 4 years experience. And I was sitting there, and I was like, okay, on a panel show. And do you know Miriam McCallaghan? Miriam McCallaghan was the first guest, and she goes, she was talking about her children, and she goes, I think she's
9. I think she has
9 children. And I said to her, you have been pregnant longer than my no claims bonus. And she laughed, and I felt this sort of, and it was also true, by the way, at the time, right? Because I was only 24. I felt this kind of release of
pressure.
This is a woman. Everybody laughed. This is a woman who doesn't know me. It was off the cuff, and I kind of went, oh, okay, this is maybe something that you can hold your own here, you know, even though you're very inexperienced. So that was probably one of them, anyway.
Something I was gonna ask you as well is, how do you deal with like the traveling side of being a comedian? Like, do you ever get like tired and you're like, oh, not in the humour doing this gig? How do you keep?
You do, but I come home nearly every single night. So, because like if you think about it, right, Ireland. So you used to meet these lads at the kind of Melbourne Comedy Festival, or you'd meet American guys at the Kilkenny Cat Laughs Festival, and they'd be going. When they were on the road, they were on the road. So they were like doing 3 nights at the Atlanta Chuckle Hut or something, and they were and they were Californians, so they were away a lot. Whereas, like if you're in Ireland, and if I do 100 dates on a tour, I'd say most of those are within 2 hours. Like everything in Dublin is obviously within 2 hours. Belfast is an hour and a half away. All of Leinster is within 2 hours. So I'm back most nights, and I deliberately choose that because. See, that's the thing, you know, you talked about at the very start, you talked about what is rich. Once you get to a certain level of being able to organise your own tour, you go, I'm not playing Aberdeen if I can't get back that night. I'm not playing Exeter or somewhere very far away from an airport in the UK if I can't get back. It's choice.
You set your own
That's
hours.
when you're rich,
Yeah.
if you have choice. And choice could be you have a farm and the farm is viable enough for you to farm. That could be choice. That could be rich. That's what rich is. I think.
Yeah.
Are you rich?
In that I can choose what I want to do. Yeah.
That's amazing. And how long did it take you to get there?
That's not about money. That's about being able to figure out choices.
Yeah.
Like, when did you get to the point where
a few years ago.
You got big enough for
a few years ago. Once you get the huge difference in stand up is when you go from not being able to sell tickets to being able to sell tickets. That's the huge change. So stand up starts, you do 5 minutes, then you do 10 minutes, then you do 15 minutes, and then you are an opener, and then you might in clubs, then you might be able to go on in the middle, and then eventually you might be able to close a club.
Yeah.
And then all of those steps are not as big as the last step, and and this is the way it used to be. The last step would be you got enough profile to tour, and then that was huge because once people can go and see you, you can decide where you want to play. Really, you know. So that's the main difference.
Yeah.
The good thing is now is a lot of people can skip the first few steps because they can blow up on social media and they go to the last step. You know?
Have you ever had writer's block, or you've run out of jokes?
Yeah.
That's more so like resistant, though, isn't it? Like writer's block.
Yeah, I think you can force it.
Yeah.
Stand up, you can force it. Yeah, you can.
Can you?
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah. Well, I've been able to anyway. But I started out the discipline. I got some degree of discipline by being on a panel show. So what they like? Oh, I can't think of a joke on that new story. Yeah, but you're going to tell you tomorrow. So write a joke about. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to write a joke. So just come up with something. So you can, you force yourself. Sometimes it can be harder to write something that's longer form for stand up, but What you do then, and here's one you're going to like with your owl and your horse story.
It's gonna stick with me, is it?
A friend of mine is a brilliant director, and he was talking to this other director, who's a writer, and he said, "What are you doing?" And the guy goes, "I'm not doing much at all now. I feel a bit guilty because I'm not doing much." And the other guy went, "Oh, you're filling the woodshed." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you have to just live your life. If you talk about your life, or you're a director or a writer, and you write about your life, or any of those things, you have to go and live your life to get enough fuel,
get experience to write about."
Bingo. So he goes, "You're just filling the woodshed." He said, "That's all you're doing. And once you fill the woodshed, you can light the fire."
Yeah.
So he was kind of saying that don't necessarily feel guilty if you've worked very hard and then you're kind of taking some downtime, because you might go on holidays and get 10 minutes out of your holiday, or get an idea for a book on your holiday, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good.
There is a balance on those things.
How do you deal with pressure?
What sort of pressure?
Making people laugh sort of pressure, stepping on a big stage sort of pressure, writing pressure.
Making people laugh, stepping on a big stage. What we all can deal with that pressure, because you don't go, generally speaking, from not experiencing that pressure to experiencing that pressure.
Yeah.
You
Gradually build up to it.
get it in increments.
Yeah.
And you remember that the feeling of excitement is the same as the feeling of fear. So the last time, like, your body doesn't know the difference. So last time I was very excited about doing something, maybe doing live the Apollo. I was like, this is really exciting, and you just kind of, I'm gonna go out and have a great time here and try and smash this, you know.
That's the one in New York, is it?
Hmm?
The Apollo.
There's an Apollo in New York, but there's also the Hammersmith Apollo, which is where the Apollo is filmed for the BBC show Live at the Apollo.
Oh yeah.
But it's like 3,000 people in a room, and it's one of the biggest theatres that you'll play. You know, that's not an
a lot
arena.
of pressure there. Yeah.
And it's for TV and all the rest. But like, you go, listen, I know this set is really good because I've done it lots of times, and just go out and enjoy.
Yeah, I think that as well. Like, preparation
Huge.
kills pressure.
Yeah.
Sort of.
The most scared I've been in the last 5 years is doing Dance with the Stars, because it's so different.
Yeah.
Because you've gone there from never experiencing it, not dancing at a wedding, to 500,000 people opening the show doing the dance you've learned 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that is terrifying.
Yeah.
But then you go, like, that's where your perspective thing comes in. You go, what's the worst that can happen?
As well,
You fall over.
Yeah.
You're a comedian, you're not a dancer.
Yeah.
As
And
long
it's
as you're
an
not
experience, like you
mean
said.
to anybody.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Something you can talk about then in other shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You always get, you get, what's the worst that can happen is a question you should ask yourself a lot. And the other thing is you got to remember, no one remembers anything.
Yeah.
Now, everything is so fast moving, and we've so much content that we all consume. No one remembers anything. I can ask you questions about last year, about a news story that was last year, or somebody who did something silly or embarrassed themselves last year. You would barely be able to remember it, and you won't remember it next year. So you get a degree of, that's just perspective.
Yeah.
What has been your most memorable moment of your comedy career?
One individual moment. Don't know. Probably getting maybe in Edinburgh, because all your peers are around in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. All your peers are around, and you are getting reviewed by certain good papers. I got a couple of 5-star reviews one year, and I was walking out of a show, and someone called me back. Somebody went, Neil, and I went, oh God, I wonder who this is, and turned around, and it was Jimmy Carr, and Jimmy Carr went, oh, I just read your 5-star review in the Scotsman newspaper. That's great.
That's crazy.
And I said, thanks very much. That was one of those moments I'll remember for a long time.
He's good with the hecklers, that man.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah. He has to be. That was one of those moments, I think. First time you do Vicar Street.
Yeah. As you started getting bigger then, did you have a vision, or did you have goals that you wanted to complete, or something you wanted to work towards?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do those things, but a lot of the time they're just I always wanted to do QI TV show because I kind of just like that weird trivia stuff, and I did that. I remember writing down to my agent said to me, "What would you like to do?" And I said, "I'd love to do that." I now have kind of things I want to create rather than because I know I can affect them, so I can go like so. You boys might go. We want to hit 400,000 downloads per podcast episode. You can do as much as you can to try and make that happen, but it's not ultimately your decision, you know. Whereas what you can do, you can go, I want to make my own mini series about a random character in Ballymun or something, you know. That's something you can do. So I have those things. I'd love to write a heist film. I love heist films, you know, bank robbery films. I love them. I love to do that. I'd love to write. I've written a sitcom pilot with a friend of mine. I'd like to do that. So I have lists of things that I can affect.
Yeah, it's funny you're saying that. Actually, Jason Bourne said that to us on this podcast as well. He's thinking of getting into more like creative sides now down in his career.
Yeah. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have anything to prove to anybody. He's done this at a very high level for a very long time. He's the most successful act ever in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. He sold more tickets than anybody else. And you get to a point where you want to try new things, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like Tommy doing his show, his TV show where he doesn't know the guests, Tommy Tierney.
Yeah.
Or that's about somebody who is, he kind of has mastered the form and wants to try a different form, you know.
Yeah.
I think. Can't speak for him, but you know.
Yeah, 100%. And what advice would you give to the younger generation?
About what specifically?
Life in general.
I mean, because I'd like
Life
get your vaccines. Like you know, I've loads of advice about that. Life in general.
Yeah.
No one is thinking about you half as much as you think they're thinking about you. That's what I would say to you. You know when you think, God, he's talking about me or he's thinking about me. Probably isn't. Everybody has their own stuff going on in their head. That's the first thing. And the second thing I think relates to it is I would try and remember. I think it's very tough being your age now, to be honest with you. I think it's tougher than it was years ago in lots of ways because of social media and stuff. No one is as confident as you think they are either. Nobody. What people tend to be, you know, you think, oh God, that guy is.
They have a hidden mask sort of thing.
Or you got this guy. He's got it all together. He's brilliant. He's just a brilliant footballer or whatever. You play football with him, brilliant footballer. Yeah, he's a brilliant footballer. But like, if he had to come in here and interview somebody, could he do that? Or if he was a brilliant interviewer, would he be a great dancer? Or would he be? People tend to be confident within specific areas.
With what they're good at.
What they're good at, yeah. So no one is, unless they're psychopaths, I think. Unless they're very odd. Okay, there's a few people who are kind of polymaths and they're skilled at everything. Yeah. But no one is as confident as you think they are. Most people are just trying to get by and just be nice to people, I think, you know. Try to understand that, though.
Have you ever suffered with, like, your mental health, considering you have to always make other people laugh, but it's like sort of putting a mask on, if you will, going onto the stage and making sure everyone else is happy. No,
I've been very lucky with that. And I think the reason I've been lucky with that is because I accidentally do the things that you were meant to do. I think it's an accident. Yeah. So you know those things where people go out and walk. Like I have dogs, and I love the dogs. Like you wouldn't imagine. Like I just love them beyond all measure, right? But therefore, you're out in sunlight. Therefore, you're getting exercise. Therefore, you've jobs. Do you know what I mean? Those accidental things that you're meant to do for your mental health, I happen to do them. So I've been very lucky that I haven't suffered from that. But you know, you're talking about there are certainly days when you go, I don't want to. I'm tired and I'm not in the form for this. Yeah. But if that's a different thing. That's not a clinical thing. In that scenario, you go, well, these people have gotten a babysitter, gotten a taxi, and they've entrusted me with their night out. So I need to bury my I'm in bad form and go out and be a professional, you know. Yeah. That's if it's just you're in bad form, you know.
Where'd you get your confidence from?
I'm old. That's why. I'm older than you lads. I'm double your age. You just I know it doesn't seem like it, but I've done this for a long time. People still come. No one's making anybody go to anything.
Yeah.
Same as this. You produce this podcast, people listen to this podcast. No one has been forced to do anything. If I have 30,000 people or 50,000 people every year going to see me, well then there's some degree of proof that you must be good enough to attract those people. And if that's the case, well then you should have some degree of confidence, you know.
If you go back to your 20-year-old self, just when you started comedy, what's 3 tips you'd give yourself?
Gig as much as you possibly can. That's the first thing. Spend as much time on stage as possible. Second one is probably kind of related to that. The first part of your career, just gig as much as you possibly can. Second part of your career, now this is only to do with stand-up. Second part of your career is try and gigs, after a few years, try and gig smart, not hard. You know what I mean? So like if it takes you 6 hours to travel to some gig, particularly if you're in London or wherever, and it takes you 6 hours and you earn 100 quid, would you be better off maybe sitting at home and writing a sketch rather than spending all that time going up there, you know? So be wise about your time, you know? It kind of goes against the first tip. And the third tip is compare yourself to no one else. Don't ever compare yourself to anybody else, because we all have different ways of doing this. So look at Jason Byrne, you talked about, and we talked about Jimmy Carr, we talked about Tommy Tiernan. The three of them achieved the same end result by doing it entirely different ways.
Yeah. And you're actually looking at them, they are 3 different individuals.
Entirely different individuals, entirely different ways. Just find out what you find funny and do that.
What's the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome?
In life generally? None. I'm very lucky. Like if you have 2 parents who love you and you grow up in Ireland and you're so obviously there was recessions in Ireland, but my dad had a worked for Board and Mona, so he had a job, and in those days you only needed one job for the family. And went to university, had to work and all the rest, you know, like we weren't. But there's no kind of hardship more than anybody else. People in your family get sick and die and all that sort of stuff, but there's been no real hardship. I've been very lucky. I know people now sometimes pretend, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, my dog was an alcoholic. But like, you know, I've been lucky. Yeah. People belong to me have gotten sick, and people belong to me have died, but that's the natural order.
It's part of life, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been very lucky, you know.
Where'd you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Licensing my AI image, sitting at home, and my AI image is being like Avatar. You know the Avatar, and I sit my arse
sitting in your.
I'm making a podcast with you two lads, as the third wheel of this wheelbarrow, and then I'm also in Vicar Street, but it's a 20-year-old me at the height of my Grecian beauty, just ripped like Paul Mescal in the Gladiator film. My Roman beauty, and 5 years time I'll still be doing something in terms of, because when I'm doing a new tour, I still get excited about if I think of a joke. I go, oh, so still as long as you're still excited about that, you'll still be kind of producing something. But I don't know will I be gigging as much, but I will be certainly creating things and writing things, but maybe something different than now, I think, you know.
Do you have a question for the next guest, not knowing who they are or what they do?
The next guest. Do you want to tell me who they are, or do I not meant to know who they are? Okay. What is the thing they do? Because I think you should do. This is my philosophy of life. Do one little thing every day that makes you happy. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be getting a nice coffee. Could be walking your dog. Could be a bar of chocolate. Could be your TV show, whatever. Those little things that make life worth living. What are the little things that they do in their life? 1 or 2 little things that they do in their life that make them happy every day.
That's amazing.
Legend.
That's it.
Thanks
a lot.
Thanks for
anything else you'd like to plug or promote?
I've got a podcast with Dave Moore called Why Would You Tell Me That, which is about weird stuff that we find interesting. Like the weirder the better. Like, there's lads in the Tour de France we did this week. There's lads in the Tour de France, and they're paid to cover over penises that are drawn on the road, that people go out and draw on the road. And lads had to do the tour race before the tour goes through and make them into butterflies and rabbits. So we talk about weird stuff like that. And I'm always on tour as well. So my new tour is called Reinventing the Neil, and I'll do the Olympia and I'll do the Arena in Belfast and everywhere else in between. So that's all.
Deadly.
Lovely, I'll take us out. Episode 49 wrapped up.